Hey you guys, Mar-Lyn with Beautiful Beana Designs. Welcome to another Tuesday Quickie. This week we will be featuring the My Monthly Hero set for September 2018. It is the Chinese lantern set, though for the purpose of this card, I focused mainly on the autumn stamps. Now, as some of you may be aware, the purpose of this Tuesday Quickie series is to put together a card from start to finish very quickly, showing that card making doesn't have to be a long process and that you can create very nice cards with easier, simpler, less time-consuming techniques. So that being said, let's go ahead and dive right in. This week we will be ink blending as well as embossing. I am using a Bristol Smooth cardstock as well as Lucky Clover, Wild Honey, and Candied Apple Distress Oxide inks. Now I've sped this up quite quickly because I think we've all seen ink blending. Most of us are pretty comfortable with ink blending. And I wanted you to see sort of how I put this together and the fact that it's really not about how this first layer looks. I know as I'm placing this down, it looks like it's quite a mess. And also I want to take an opportunity to apologize for my pink craft mat, which really doesn't complement those fall colors very well at all, but I was afraid my white craft mat might have created too much of a glare. Moving forward, I don't think you'll be seeing much of this pink anymore. But anyway, we're just trying to get a really good coverage. We want these colors, the red, the yellow, and the green, to appear, all three of them together, in lots of different small areas so that we can see them coming through in the next few steps. So again, it doesn't really matter how this layer looks so much as it just matters that we get good coverage. Now, I am speeding along the drying process with my heat gun for the next steps of this technique. Your card, the ink, must be completely dry. In the words of Desiree from Include a Thank You and Then Some, ask me how I know. You want to make sure this is completely dry. We will be embossing now, so we're going to go ahead and cover this card panel completely with our anti-static powder pillow. And now we're going to go ahead and add the sentiment. For this card, I selected Hello Autumn. Again, that's from the My Monthly Hero September 2018 card kit. It's the Chinese lantern kit, but I used that Hello Autumn sentiment as well as one stamp from that card kit. It is, I believe it's a maple leaf. It's a very fall looking leaf. And here I am with my Distress embossing ink. I am simply filling this card panel with this leaf in all different directions. I want to make a pretty pattern. I want the panel to be kind of full without being cluttered, and I want to make sure that these leaves are just going in every direction, looking like autumn leaves falling from the sky, just decorating this card panel. Now we will be embossing this with Wow Clear Gloss Superfine Embossing Powder. As you can see, when it hits that embossing ink, it does have a bit of a white coverage, but once we melt that embossing powder, it will be clear, and you won't really be able to see what we embossed. Here I'm coming in with my paintbrush. It's just an old paintbrush, and I'm just removing some of the stray embossing powder. I did, because we had just ink blended this card panel, I did get a little bit of embossing powder sticking to areas I didn't want it. So I removed that, cleaned it up a little bit, and now we are melting this embossing powder. You can see that it begins to disappear. Now in just a moment, once that has been melted and it cools, we will be coming back in with Distress Oxide in Vintage Photo and very heavily covering this entire card panel. Now, this is not my own technique. I didn't invent this. I did see it a while ago on a YouTube video by another card artist, and I don't remember what this technique is called. If anybody does know, drop me a comment down below. I would love to be reminded what exactly this is called. But I've gone in very heavy, adding that vintage photo, and now I'm going to come in with a dry baby wipe, and I'm going to buff that embossing powder. It has resisted, and it's showing those colors, those beautiful autumn colors from underneath. And really, when you buff this, that is when this card panel begins to look pretty. And up to this point, it kind of looked pretty messy, but now you see those colors shining through. And once again, I'm just going to speed the drying along a little bit here. I did go pretty heavy with that vintage photo. Now, I wanted the card colors to pop out a little bit, that green, that red, and yellow, to kind of come up from underneath, not just where it's clear embossed, but throughout. If you only wanted to see the colors where it's clear embossed, you could use a darker brown ink, either a Distress Oxide in a darker shade, or even a dye ink. A dark brown dye ink would work very well. So there I was just showing you that I cut this card panel using the Stephanie Bernard for Sizzix dotted rectangle die, and then I popped some, or I adhered some foam, some fun foam to the back so we could pop it up on the card panel. Quickly, I did go through there and just pop out some of those dots that were a little bit more stubborn and stayed behind on that card panel. I found 2 more while I was putting the tape runner on the back. So now I am adhering this to a standard A2 card base, bringing in my Honey Gold Nouveau glitter drops. I think I'll be using these a lot with this My Monthly Hero September kit because they are just beautiful with these fall colors. Now they do go down with a little bit of a white tint to them, but as they dry, you will see just that glitter, and the rest of the liquid will dry back clear. I did flatten them out a little bit with a few taps on my hand, and that is the card for this Tuesday Quickie. I hope I've inspired you to make beautiful things. Have a great day. Bye-bye.